Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm going to be talking about what I read in June 2016, or in a word, my reading level. June was another really good reading month. I read 12 books in total across an interesting and varied selection of genres. First of which is Nocturnes by Kazooie Is She Going. This is a literary fiction short story collection. There are 5 short stories within it. This is a library book which I have to return tomorrow. And quite simply, I really enjoyed this book. This is my first ever Kazooie Is She Going book. I'm not going to talk about it in depth now because I'm actually doing a review of it. That's how much I liked it in the next week or two. But frankly, all 5 short stories are beautifully written. They are simple ideas but extremely effective. And it's made me like Ishiguro so much that I definitely will be reading more. This is my first book by him. It's definitely not going to be my last. This was really impressive. I mean, the writing was so beautiful. I can't say enough positive about it in that way. The second book was The Just City by Joe Walton. This is a book which merges science fiction and fantasy extremely seamlessly. And indeed, that is what Joe Walton is known for, merging and blending genres together. This is about a thought experiment of the philosopher Plato. In the book, a god takes 10,000 children from different periods in history, brings them together in Roman times in a very isolated area, and obviously which has been made into the Just City. And the idea is these children will be growing up together and developing as people. They will be developing themselves and the city and their society around them. And the idea is that they will develop into a city of philosophers or academics and make this perfect city where everything is fair, even, everybody's polite, of course everything is just. It's an interesting concept. Obviously, because this is a thought experiment, the experiment part is quite important because experiments often don't work. This doesn't work out the way that the people running it want, and they get involved a bit too much as well. It's a really interesting idea, a weird idea frankly, but one that works really well. I really did enjoy it. The writing is really strong. The characters are all well developed and they work together and they fit the setting. Obviously they're from different periods, so any oddness is actually on purpose in most cases, or at least as far as I can tell anyway it is. And I really did like this book. This is actually the first in the Thessaly trilogy. I'm not in any hurry to read the other 2 though, because this, I think, stands just as strongly on its own. I will read the other 2 in a month or 2, especially when I can find them in the library anyway. The third book is also a library book, and that is Classic Science Fiction, The First Golden Age, edited by Carr. It should have a nice, quite fancy dust jacket, but obviously this is library, so that's been lost a long time ago. This has 12 short stories in it. They're all around the 1940s era, and indeed obviously that is the idea of the book, the golden era of science fiction, when science fiction was becoming an established full genre. The authors in it are ones like Heinlein, Asimov, Sturgeon and Van Vogt. I've read 3 of those authors. The one I wanted to read in particular was Sturgeon. Unfortunately, his story was one of the ones I didn't particularly care for, but you're bound to get that with a short story collection. All the stories though are pretty solid on their own, and I'm really happy that I've read this. Also, Carr, the editor, he writes like a kind of a history before each short story and why it's included in his collection, and that in some ways is almost more interesting than the short stories themselves. It explains a lot of how science fiction got started and how a lot of these authors sort of met up and they worked together and they collaborated far more then than I think authors do now. I mean, the authors were sending each other ideas constantly, and frankly it's a really worthwhile book, and I'm really glad that I noticed this just standing on the shelf in the library. The 4th book was So Called The River by Michael Koryta. This is a supernatural horror. It is about a photographer called Eric Shaw who gets asked or paid actually, to go and make a very personal documentary on behalf of a woman about her grandfather, who is very close to death, and they want to, sort of like a remembrance documentary and find out certain things from his past as well. So he goes to a town where her grandfather was from, called West Baden in Indiana, which does actually exist, and some really weird things happen. There is a spring water hotel there. There's actually two of them, which are related to the plot in a very significant and weird manner. And overall, I just loved this book. This is the second book by Koryta that I've read, and yet again, I really enjoyed it. Koryta really knows how to get a sense of eeriness and sort of creepiness into his books. Every single page is sort of weird and on edge, and frankly, I can't help loving it for that reason. Not many authors can get that weird feeling constantly all the way through it, literally from page 1 to the very last page. It's really impressive, and the writing was really, really good as well. The characters were solid, and obviously the atmosphere, that's what it's all about with this book. And Koryta knows how to do atmosphere. He truly does, and I love this book for that reason. So that's it for library books. The next 4 books that I read were books 1 to 4 in the Dark Tower series. These are The Gunslinger, The Drawing of the Free, The Wastelands, and finally Wizard and Glass. There are 7 of them in total. This is Stephen King's magnus opus, or his sort of greatest work, and I can understand why. These books he started in the early 70s, I believe, with The Gunslinger, and he only finished them in the early 2000s, so it took him 40 years almost in total to finish these 7 books. The age of the books does show from the early ones to the last I've heard. Obviously I haven't read all of them yet, although I will read the next and final 3 in July. I'm not going to talk about them too much for that reason, because once I've read the final 3, I will do a Dark Tower series review and overview. So, what's suffice to say, the writing in it is really interesting. The characters is really well developed. The world is what makes it special, personally, along with the characters, because it's really weird. It's a fantasy world, kind of, but not fully. I mean, basically this mixes genres up like I haven't seen ever before in my life. This has elements of fantasy, it has elements of supernatural horror, has western, all sorts of different things, and I just really like these for that reason, because they were just unexpected and so different from what I'm used to, and that mix of genres and the characters as well. It's all about Roland the Gunslinger, hence the name of the first book. He's on a quest for the Dark Tower, which is a kind of a nexus point of, well, everything of reality itself, all realities. And indeed, he uses a multiverse idea as well, which I always like multiverse ideas. And he has to go there and stop something from happening, maybe the universe from ending. You're not really sure. Even he doesn't know why he wants to or needs to go to the Dark Tower. He just knows that he has to. It's something that is in every molecule of his being. He must go to the Dark Tower or die trying. He's got some companions along the way who are developed in a really interesting way, especially when they're not from his world, they're from our world as well. And it's just a really curious blend of ideas and characters and setting. And frankly, I'm looking forward to reading the final 3 books soon. The next 2 books were Kill Shot by Vince Flynn and Transfer of Power by Vince Flynn. This is the second book in the Mitch Rapp series. This is the third. There are 14 books in the series overall. These are spy, sort of espionage thrillers with a fair bit of action. And Transfer of Power, although it is the third book now, originally this was the first book in the Mitch Rapp series. He wrote the first book and this one, which is the second, after towards the end of the series. He wanted to do prequels and kind of like an origin story for them. So this actually was the most important one in some respects. And both books are really, really interesting. In this, the character of Mitch Rapp, who is a unofficial sort of CIA assassin essentially, he's on an assignment to assassinate somebody in Paris. He kills this person, but unfortunately things go wrong. He's ambushed right after he shoots them, and then he gets wounded and he has to hide in Paris from the various people that want to kill him. Some of them are foreign teams, some of them are teams from the CIA itself, because of course he's unofficial, so he's very sort of secret and unknown. It's really well paced and the plot was really good. The other one was Transfer Power. This really did feel like a big Hollywood blockbuster action film. In it, the plot is actually quite simple in some ways. Terrorists attack the White House. They actually manage to kill a lot of the security, the Secret Service, and they take over the White House and take a load of prisoners hostage. The president manages to escape to the underground bunker, which presumably does exist. Obviously, I'm no expert on that. And Mitch Rapp is sent in to try and, sort of solve the problem, basically. And there's a lot of political intrigue and internal sort of to and fro between different factions who want Mitch Rapp in there. Some of them don't want him in there. Some of them hate Mitch Rapp. And it's quite a lot of intrigue. And the action is really, really solid as well in both books. And basically, the writing is extremely tight and focused. The action is really, really solid. The plot is actually plausible, which, considering the plot, what it is, it sounds amazing, but it really is plausible. Actually, you could almost imagine something like this happening. And overall, I just really enjoyed these books. They're the most believable and the most well written of any kind of action thrillers that I've read in years. I actually prefer these books over, so far, the Jack Reacher books by Lee Child. They feel a bit sort of fraction in places. These, the writing is more together and the overall plot is far more concise and focused, and I really did appreciate that, frankly. The next book is Ancestral Voicing by Tom Sharpe. This is the 8th Tom Sharpe book I've read. I've read the previous 7 in the previous 7 months. This is also the last one I have at the moment, sadly, so I'm not going to be any more Tom Sharpe for a while, which is sad. Anyway, in this one, an old, very rich patriarch of this big family hires a academic called Walton Yap, really weird name, to basically write a really brutally honest report on his family. He hates the rest of his family. He knows that he hasn't got that much longer to live, only a few years, 5 at most, and basically he wants to ruin their lives before he goes. He's not a very nice old man, he really isn't. Walton Yap goes to this small village / town, and chaos ensues basically. He's trying to find out what's happening. Everybody is misunderstanding other people, and frankly, yet again, I was laughing so hard that my face was red and I was crying during this book. I really was. I love Tom Sharpe now, I really do. One of my favourite authors in humour. This book is just as mad as all the others in it, because he takes every situation, like normal situation, and then he just goes them up to 11 and just one step beyond where they need to be. But because of that, they're basically insane. In this one, some of it is just like pretty mad. I mean, there is a dwarf who gets accidentally killed, or not, he might have got murdered. There is a sex toy factory, as you do, and there is a very disturbing car wash. I'm not going to say why the car wash is disturbing, or indeed anything else about it, because the plot's quite complicated. Suffice to say though, the writing is extremely sharp, the wit and the humour in it is even sharper, and frankly, these books are extremely well written and extremely intelligently written. He doesn't add things in to the plot to make them bulk them up or anything. Every bit of the book works, and it works for an important reason, and I'm just sad that I haven't got any more to read, at least for now. And finally, the last book is Burning Chrome by William Gibson. I'm not going to say too much about this because I've actually done a review which should be uploaded within the next week or two, but I will say it is a science fiction cyberpunk short story collection set in the near future. There are 10 short stories within it. Some of them are set in the Sprawl universe, which is the same universe as Neuromancer, which is obviously Gibson's most well-known book. This is a really good short story collection. It shows off Gibson's writing style and what he can do with shorter stories as well, because this is the first and so far only set of short stories by him that I've read. All stories are good, solid stories, and this is very important, I think, to the cyberpunk subgenre itself. I'll go into why in the review, but I am very, very happy that I've read this. I really am. And thank you to Adriana for making me aware that this book actually existed, because I'd actually forgotten about this book for a long time. And now I can say that I've read it, and I'm very happy that I've read it. So that's it. If you've read any of these or would like to, then please leave me a comment below and we can have a conversation. Any book suggestions that you would like to suggest to me that I might like based on what you've seen me read, or always appreciate as always. All my social media links, as well as the links to the videos when they're done, obviously not yet, it'll be in a week or two's time, can be found in the description box below. And that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.